Right.
उधर देख के बात करोगे तो बहुत प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा।
नहीं, मैं दोनों तरफ है, just okay, so we're going to begin. Okay, so hello everyone, I am Manas Srivastava. Welcome to the UPSC Live of the Indian Express. And we're going to discuss some very important issues today. You know, from a long time, this notes making from the Indian Express or from the newspaper has been asked several times to me. और मैं हमेशा सोचता हूँ कि किस टेक्निक से आपको बताऊं कि न्यूज़पेपर या इंडियन एक्सप्रेस न्यूज़पेपर से नोट्स कैसे बनाया जा सकता है। सबसे पहले आपको कुछ चीजें ध्यान में रखनी है। सबसे पहले तो इंपॉर्टेंट ये है, ये जान लेना दैट नोट्स मेकिंग इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. You must be reading a lot of analysis, you must be seeing a lot of presentations on analysis. आपको बहुत जगह से कुंजी मिल जाती होगी about the newspaper. But when you read your newspaper, your own notes making is important. Because after all, this is about your exam, how you write, how you summarize, how you understand a particular news. तो सबसे पहले इंपॉर्टेंट तो यही है कि नोट्स मेकिंग इज एन इंपॉर्टेंट एक्सरसाइज. व्हेन यू आर रीडिंग अ न्यूज़पेपर, यू हैव टू मेक नोट्स. ओके, एक तो ये दूसरी चीज है. तीसरी चीज ये है कि नोट्स शुड बी क्रिस्प. व्हाई एम आई सेइंग दैट? भाई, आप जब न्यूज़पेपर का आर्टिकल्स पढ़ रहे हैं, एक्सप्लेन्ड पढ़ रहे हैं, एडिटोरियल पढ़ रहे हैं, डू यू वांट टू मेक अ फोटोकॉपी ऑफ इट? No, that's not the purpose. The notes should be crisper so that it can be revised in a better manner. Easy, quick revision हो सके. इसलिए आपको जरूरी है कि आप क्रिस्प नोट्स बनाएं. और तीसरी अहम बात जो है वो ये है कि at times you have to go beyond the headlines. When I say beyond the headlines, what do I mean? कि कभी कभी न्यूज़पेपर में, आर्टिकल में, इंडियन एक्सप्रेस आर्टिकल में कुछ ऐसी चीजें होती है जो नहीं मेंशन होती है, बट फ्रॉम द एग्जाम पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. और वहां रोल आता है हमारे यूपीएससी की का, यूपीएससी की जो कि इंडियन एक्सप्रेस के यूपीएससी सेक्शन की एक इनिशिएटिव है, या यूपीएससी एसेंशियल्स के डिफरेंट प्रोडक्ट्स का, जो आपको बियॉन्ड द हेडलाइन जाने को एक डायरेक्शन देता है. इट गिव्स अ डायरेक्शन टू दैट. तो मैंने तीन बात अभी तक आपको मोटी मोटी बताई है, समझाई है. पहला, that making notes is important when you are reading the newspaper from the print or the hard copy, or you're reading online. तो ये तो बहुत क्लियर होना चाहिए. दूसरा, notes should be crisper. ओके, नोट्स जो है ऐसे होने चाहिए जो हैंडी होने चाहिए और जो आप उसको इजीली रिवाइज कर सके. और तीसरा, यू हैव टू गो बियॉन्ड द हेडलाइंस, जो कि यूपीएससी की या यूपीएससी एसेंशियल्स के जो प्रोडक्ट्स हैं हमारे इंडियन एक्सप्रेस में, वो प्रोवाइड किए जाते हैं. ठीक है. सो इफ यू हैव एनी क्वेश्चन, सो manas.srivastava@indianexpress.com आप पूछ सकते हैं. एंड एट द सेम टाइम यू हैव टू रिमेंबर दैट not only you can ask me the questions, but also you can go to the indianexpress.com, the website, go to the UPSC section. You can get a lot of fodder from there for your exams. Now let's come directly to articles. सबसे पहले जब हम नोट्स बनाते हैं तो एक दिमाग में क्या चलता है? मान लीजिए कि आप किसी भी बुक का नोट्स बना रहे हैं, तो क्या आप नोट्स, वो बुक उठा के उस पे नोट्स उतारने लगेंगे? नो. फर्स्ट यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड द नेचर ऑफ द आर्टिकल. आर्टिकल्स बेसिकली दो तरह के होते हैं. ओके, नाउ दिस यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड बिकॉज इट्स कमिंग स्ट्रेट फ्रॉम द मीडिया, सो यू शुड अंडरस्टैंड. आर्टिकल्स बेसिकली दो तरह के होते हैं. वन इज फैक्ट बेस्ड, जिसमें आपको केवल फैक्ट्स मिलते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, जब आप किसी फ्रंट पेज, द फ्रंट पेज ऑफ द न्यूज़पेपर अगर आप उठाएं, तो दीज आर बेसिकली न्यूज विच इज फैक्ट बेस्ड. दिस इज द फर्स्ट हैंड रिपोर्ट. These are whatever has happened in the country. For example, right now Parliament is going on. तो Parliament में क्या चल रहा है, किसने क्या बोला, कौन सा बिल पास हुआ. These kind of news you will get in the front page. और अगर आप आगे चले तो सिटी न्यूज है या गवर्नेंस है, इन पार्लियामेंट है, ये सब आपको एक फैक्ट्स देते हैं। जैसे कि मैंने आपको बताया कि पार्लियामेंट सेशन चल रहा है, तो पार्लियामेंट में क्या हो रहा है, which bill is passed, which bill is not passed, who said what, all these things are factual. Then come the other type of articles. What are the other type of articles? The other type of articles are basically understanding based articles. Now, when I say understanding based articles, so understanding based articles हुए little analytical articles. Can anybody tell me that what do I mean by understanding? Yeah, understanding based analytical articles newspaper में where are they located? For example, the fact based articles are the front page articles, but the analytical articles are located in the editorial section. Okay, as some of you are replying, the editorial section gives you the analytical or understanding based articles. So दो तरह के articles हो गए, fact based or understanding based articles. Now, when you read something like the Indian Express, there is a third category of article which is both fact एंड अंडरस्टैंडिंग बेस्ड। अभी हमने एक बात की फैक्ट बेस्ड आर्टिकल जो ज्यादातर आपको मेन पेज है, फ्रंट पेज पे मिलेगा, और दूसरा आपको जो आर्टिकल है वो मिलेगा एडिटोरियल में, जो कि अंडरस्टैंडिंग एनालिटिकल बेस्ड आर्टिकल। और तीसरा जो थर्ड है वो है मिक्स ऑफ फैक्ट्स एंड अंडरस्टैंडिंग, which is basically the explained section of the Indian Express. The explained section which is so popular among the UPSC aspirants. तो तीन तरह के तो आर्टिकल्स हैं। तो पहले तो आप जब न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ रहे हैं और नोट्स बनाने हैं आपको, तो you have to be clear with what you are reading. Okay, so whether it's a fact-based article which will be relevant for your prelims, or the analytical, understanding-based article which will help you in mains, and the third is your fact plus understanding which will be helped both in prelims and mains, which is the explained section. तो हमने बात कर ली कि नोट्स बनाने तो इंपॉर्टेंट है ही, और तीन तरह के आर्टिकल्स which you will find in your newspaper. Now, let's come to these three different sections, and today I'm also going to talk about CSAT. Okay, हम थोड़ा बहुत CSAT पे बात करेंगे. A lot of people have a lot of worries about CSAT, and why is it important to study newspaper if you want to actually do better in CSAT? That is very important point. तो वो भी हम address करेंगे, and I will request my producer to remind me that we will have to talk about CSAT today. Now, let's come to straight away to the notes making part. So हमने तीन तरह के articles identify कर लिए हैं, and there should be no doubt. Now let's come to the second part, is that how to start. तो सबसे पहले whenever you're reading the headline, please locate the where does that topic is there in your syllabus. Syllabus में कहाँ वो topic आता है. Now कभी कभी ऐसा होगा, there will be times when that particular topic will be there in your syllabus, in your it will be in one particular syllabus subject, and it will also be relevant in some other subject also. ओके, तो परेशानी, इसकी परेशानी की कोई बात नहीं होनी चाहिए. आपको जहां भी प्रोमिनेंट लगे, यू नो पुट इट अंडर दैट पर्टिकुलर सिलेबस, जो भी आपको प्रोमिनेंट लग रहा है दो तीन में से. एंड while you are doing the writing part, you can just mention somewhere कि भाई this is relevant to ethics, this is also relevant to society. Say for example, you are reading about a bill, or you're reading about some amendment. Since there's so much parliament, so I'll just talk about bills and amendments an example. So bill or amendment or any kind of act of the parliament is directly related to the polity syllabus, but say if it is related to women and child development, so somewhere it is also related to your social justice, society, and so on and so forth. So आप वहां पे एक छोटा सा मार्क कर सकते हैं. Now, regarding what points to mention, दो तीन चीजें आपको नहीं मेंशन करनी चाहिए. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, डू नॉट राइट हैवी डेटा इन योर नोट्स. कई बार नोट्स ऐसे होंगे जिसमें खूब सारे डेटा होंगे, ओके, आर्टिकल्स होंगे जिसमें खूब सारे डाटा होंगे, फिगर्स होंगे, नंबर्स होंगे. अगर देयर आर प्रोमिनेंट नंबर, फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ देयर द इकोनॉमी हैज शोन सम इंक्रीज from the past year to this year, तो वो number आप याद कर सकते हैं. But do not go in, say how many vaccines have been distributed. All these things are not very important for the notes. Secondly, when you are making the notes, जैसे मैंने आपको पिछले वीडियो में बताया था, एंड आई एम श्योर कि आप उस वीडियो को फिर से रिविजिट करें. There's always an excerpt behind, beneath the headline. So this is a sub headline. Sometimes we say generally, okay. Headline के नीचे जो एक मोटी-मोटी line लिखी रहती है, that tells you what is that article in totality about. So you can at least write that subtitle as your, as one of the points, and then look for the keywords. Look for the keywords and mention those keywords in that particular topic. Okay, so what did I tell you? That जो main headline है वो आपको बताएगी कि वो किस particular theme या subject से related है, and then comes the subtitle or subheading where you can actually note it down, because that will tell you, that is one of the fodder. And then you have certain key terms which you will find while reading the article. Please, you can skip the complicated statements. You can skip that. Always keep in your focus. You should always keep your syllabus. If it's something's relevant to syllabus, you should mention that. So that is one thing which I wanted you all to note. Then, do you remember that we've also discussed 5Ws 1H in one of our previous episodes? So you can either apply 5W 1H in your notes form. So you can revisit the live videos of the previous sessions and you can talk about 5W, you learn about 5W 1H, or you can also talk about the pillar approach, the 4-pillar approach which we discussed in the last live. That also you can do. So that reminds me, we've done many lives till now. We've discussed on how to read the newspaper in general. Then we talked about how to deal with complicated issues like Manipur issue in our reading. Then we also talked about 5W1H and how to make the best use of essays through newspapers. So these are certain areas we have already covered. एक क्वेश्चन जो बार बार आता है वो है न्यूज़पेपर कटिंग का. लोग पूछते हैं कि should we make notes or should we do the cutting of a newspaper or news article. पहले तो मैं आपको एक बता दूं एक बात कि सबका अपना अपना स्टाइल होता है. Everybody has its own, his or her own style to revise, write, make notes. But when it comes to cutting of articles, I think the articles which are, for example, case study articles, कई बार ऐसा होता है कि there are some very good articles in the newspaper, say it's related to governance model कि किसी district में कुछ अच्छा हुआ and there is a beautiful article on it, okay, or a report by somebody. You can take a, it's not important to note down everything of it, so you can just cut out that part and paste it in your diary or a copy wherever you're maintaining it. Some people also write in loose sheets, so you can cut that there, because that is an example, that is not enhancing in any factual or analytical knowledge of yours. Okay, so you can cut out those, but mostly what I would suggest that try to make pointers, notes there in your particular the answer copy or the diary, because ultimately you have to write this examination. This examination is about writing answers, so that is very important. Now, have you ever gone through the editorial page or the idea page and you must have noticed a quote, okay, which is called worldly wise? Sometimes these quotes are very relevant for your examination. It gives you an extra edge while you're writing a paper. Okay, so because the essays are quote based now, philosophical quotes. Sometimes you have to mention essays in these quotes in your essays body, or you have to mention these quotes in your mains general papers. So why not? I was just thinking, and I was just talking to other aspirants, why not make a essay diary or a quote diary? And whenever you see some important quotes, separate it from your normal notes and note down those quotes somewhere separately, and just revise it once before the mains examination. Now, these codes are not general codes. These are very different codes. Okay, they will be different from what all other students are doing. Okay, now that so many of you are listening to me and viewing me on your YouTube and Instagram, I think a lot of you will follow this. But please pay attention to every corner of the newspaper. It gives you some or the other information which will help you in the notes making process. Okay, so we have a question, and the question is welcome.
Regarding making notes, clickbait_PR has asked what points can backfire and how to keep answers simple and crisp.
Okay, now when you are talking about the notes or answers making simple and crisp, remember, and I have been always telling you about keywords. Okay, so then examiner का attention directly words पे जाता है. Okay, imagine you are checking hundreds of copies. All right, and it becomes so monotonous for even the examiner, to check those so many copies in a limited hour. But when you are highlighting particular keywords, and that is the essence, that those keywords tell the essence of the that particular article or answer. That is very important. Secondly, a very important article, even in the newspaper. Now look, newspaper can help you in understanding it. Which article do you find very good, easy or lucid? Which has short sentences, to the point. If there is a paragraph which has only one sentence, but there are 5 to 6 lines, it is so complicated. जब जैसे आप शुरू करेंगे और अंत में पहुंचेंगे, आप भूल जाएंगे कि पहले क्या लिखा था. So similarly applies to your notes and your answers. Use short statements, come to the point as soon as possible, use keywords. All right, but keywords doesn't mean कि आप हर समय answers भी points में लिखें. Notes आप points में बनाएं, but answers you should have a mix of paragraph and pointers. So I think that answers your question. And remember, 5 W's 1 H. If you are following this approach, any answer, any notes making will be useful.
What are the points that can backfire?
Okay, this question on points that is backfire. First, if you are not sticking to the demand of the question. Okay, because see, word limit hoti hai, you don't have to go beyond it. So that is why I'm saying coming directly to the point. So do not write something right or left. And by right or left, I don't mean ideology. What I mean that stick to the demand of the question. एक तो ये. दूसरा, do not write something which is complicated and controversial. All right. Then, since you are preparing for a civil services examination which want solution-oriented civil servants, so look for, whenever you're looking for problems, you should have solutions. So any good article which you will find or editorial which you will find will have both problems and solutions. So those kind of articles should be best in your in your mind. And even if the article is good but just it tells about problems, you can come up with your own solutions. So backfiring का एक तो ये फंडा है. दूसरा, obviously when you're writing exam or making notes, it should be a legible writing, clear, and use simple words. Don't use complicated words, because after all, you are going to serve a common citizen. Okay, so simple language. Now, then there is one very important point which I want to discuss today. Are you ready for it? The discussion is around bigger issues. Now, for example, let's take this issue on cheetah. Okay, there's so much news about cheetah. Now, let us understand this. The issue or the news on cheetah was there on the front page also. There were editorials also. And then there were explained articles also. अब इसमें कोई बुद्धिमानी नहीं है कि आप तीनों का अलग अलग नोट्स बनाएं. Okay, what I would suggest, wait for some time, keep collecting the news. एक बार वो पूरा इश्यू एक साथ कवर कर लीजिए, where there is a front page factual part also, there is an editorial analytical part also, and explained fact plus analytical part. उससे क्या फायदा है? उससे फायदा ये है कि आपका इश्यू एक बार में ही कंप्लीट हो जाता है. ओके, बार बार आपको न्यूज बनाने की जरूरत नहीं है. एंड you would get to know that this cheetah issue or the Manipur issue will carry on for some time, so you can keep savings place for it, and whenever there's a point, just keep adding to it. But do not prepare these topics in isolation कि आज फ्रंट पेज वाला नोट्स बना लेते हैं, कल एक्सप्लेन्ड वाला नोट्स बना लेंगे और परसों हम एडिटोरियल वाला नोट्स बनाएंगे. ऐसा मत करिए. Bring it together as a one issue. Okay, and it is in fact that will be only helpful for your revision. Otherwise आप हर दिन वही चीज रिवाइज भी कर रहे हैं. तो ये चीज आपको जाननी बहुत जरूरी है. So that's why I took the example of cheetah. You can also take example of Manipur issue. Parliament, for example, so many bills are being done every, the bills are being passed or not passed, but still it is proposed every day when the parliament is in session. It doesn't make sense कि आप हर दिन वो news पढ़ते जाएं. Wait for the parliament session to get over. Once the parliament session is going to get over, there will be a summary or there will be some news on what was all in the parliament, a kind of a summary. There will be an editorial, there will be an explained. So sit at one time and complete that topic instead of doing it again and again. नहीं तो आप सोच लीजिए कि आपको हर दिन 2-2 घंटा उसी टॉपिक पे देना पड़ेगा. Okay, so there are topics which are in continuation. उन कॉन्टिन्यूड टॉपिक्स के लिए आपको नोट्स की स्ट्रैटेजी थोड़ी अलग होनी चाहिए. All right. For example, we also when our fellow journalists and people write an article, they would do every day whatever is important happening in a convention. But finally, when that convention is over, they will write an article on key takeaways of say G20 summit or G7 summit. Okay, for example, you know that September is the month of G20. The whole month, some or the other news will come around G20. But finally, what you have to understand is what were the key takeaways. Wait for the final article, which might be in the print or it might come in the online section. All right, so these are certain important points which I have to mention. Other than that, there are people who want to do some smart work. So let's talk about a smart work strategy. हम लोग जब भी कोई किताब पढ़ते हैं, किताब पढ़ रहा हूं, न्यूज़पेपर की बात नहीं कर रहा हूं, हमारे कुछ फेवरेट ऑथर्स होते हैं जो हमारी लिस्ट में होते हैं. We know that this particular person writes on this topic and we pick up that book and we read. Similarly is for newspaper or news. You know, for example, that Amitabh Sinha in the Indian Express writes on environment issues. Anybody should Google Amitabh Sinha and you will find all the articles which is written in the Indian Express in this entire year or month. Make that collection, because Amitabh Sinha will not write out of context. What is he going to write is what is in the news. He's going to explain that. He's going to write editorial about that. Similarly goes for Udit Mishra. Okay, similarly goes for the famous person who writes on IR issues in the editorial. Okay, Raja Mandala column, you must have heard about it. So just pick up these journalists, these people, these experts who write on advanced issues to make your and that will help you enriching your knowledge. Just catch hold them through online and look at the articles which they have written. This is also a smarter approach. Okay, because they will cover most of the news most of the topics which are in the news in an analysis and factual part. So for example, let me share my favorites with you. For example, Udit Mishra, who writes on economy, Amitabh Sinha, who writes on environment. So when I have to talk about economy or I have to study about environment, I just type their name and I see a lot of articles covering whatever is in the news, and that is what we do. Now, this was about following certain writers which are famous in the Indian Express. One of the last point which I want to talk today is about CSAT. And I'm sure आप लोग बहुत से लोग CSAT को लेकर बहुत परेशान हैं. And before I should move to CSAT, if there is a question.
Pure Pure Consciousness is asking a question that
Thanks for the perspective on mains, but what about prelims preparation? Since the line between current affairs and static is getting blurry with respect to this year's question paper.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And in fact, a lot of people do not have an answer for it. But I think the analysis which we have done in the past tells us that current, and that's why when I talk about three kind of articles, there is where I want to draw your attention. When we talk about three kinds of articles, we talked about facts, we talked about analysis, and we talked about facts plus analysis. Okay, so the fact part is basically very, objective prelims oriented. But now then when you come to the kind of paper which was said this year, there comes the role of analytical plus factual. Okay, these are perplexing questions. Okay, it's that the questions have moved from that era where we had only elimination methods. Now elimination method को भी surpass कर दिया है यूपीएससी ने. तो आपको तभी मैं कह रहा हूं कि किसी भी आर्टिकल को या टॉपिक को टोटलिटी में जब पढ़ना है तो अप्लाई दिस मेथड, फैक्ट एनालिसिस एंड फैक्ट प्लस एनालिसिस. बाय फैक्ट आई मीन द फ्रंट पेज न्यूज, बाय एनालिसिस आई मीन और अंडरस्टैंडिंग आई मीन उसी का करस्पॉन्डिंग you have the news article in the editorial section where there is also an opinion but also analysis. So sometimes analysis based question aa jata hai. But the most relevant part, I think you will find in the explained, where they explain in a way there are facts also and they go beyond the headline and explain. That is an important thing. So a lot of time people just read the explained section, they forget the front page. They just read the editorial and they forget, and they rely on the analysis done by various institutes. That is also fine. But to develop your own understanding, you have to take all three together. That is an important thing. दूसरी चीज मैं आपको यही चीज सीसैट वाले बात में बताने वाला था, वो है टू डेवलप अ हैबिट ऑफ रीडिंग आर्टिकल्स. A lot of us are not in a habit to read articles, are not in a habit to read newspaper, and therefore sometimes they are unable to go beyond the headlines and to know the nitty-gritties of those articles. Okay, now even in the CSAT, a lot of people who have problem with comprehension skills, there is a comprehension passage and a lot of people have problem with it. This year if you see, the comprehension passages are bigger with some smaller questions. Most of these comprehension passages are made from the newspaper. Some of them have also come from the Indian Express. Now, I am not saying that all the comprehension passage will come from a particular paper, तो हर दिन वो ही पढ़िए नहीं. It's about having that ability and habit to read an article, to comprehend it, to understand it easily. और speed भी तभी बढ़ेगी जब आप आर्टिकल पढ़ेंगे. So that is very important. And when we are talking to a lot of aspirants and they are talking about the comprehension skills, their English was very good, but under pressure, they have not been able to perform. To read those big articles and to understand and to solve that smaller question on a big article. Now, there is the point of reading articles from the newspaper and summarizing it in your own words. That means to understand it from the own words. So next time when you are reading a newspaper, remember, you are not only reading it for your general studies, prelims or mains, but you're also increasing your comprehension skill by reading that particular article. जल्दी से समराइज करो और उसको आप समझो कि what is the assumptions, what is the analysis, what is the facts here. Okay, another question.
Girl_up high is asking how to write the introduction and the conclusion precisely with addition to current events.
Well, it's very simple. Everybody has their own style of writing introduction and conclusion. You have to go to my previous episodes, by the way, where I have discussed this in detail. So you can go to the UPSC Live of UPSC Essentials of the Indian Express and you'll find where I've discussed about various approaches. Okay. Now, but when you are just to, since you have asked and I'm happy that question has come. When you're reading an article, please understand that there is an introduction already in an editorial or in an article. And there is also a conclusion in that article. Okay, try to learn the skill of how they are writing. Have they applied the 5W1H approach in writing an introduction? Is the conclusion, if the demand of the question is to suggest something, are you able to give a constructive suggestion in the conclusion? Is any particular quote which you have studied in that editorial or in the news, will it be useful in writing the conclusion? Okay, a lot of times when there is a scheme or there is a policy related question asked to you, you would see that the president or the honorable prime minister or the minister had said something, or somewhere in a UN convention that particular issue was raised, or some report had a title which was matching that particular question which is asked. Now, all those things will come to your understanding or to your knowledge only if you read the Indian Express or the newspaper from that perspective. Another question?
Since you mentioned about quotes, Rams underscore 007 is asking, should we really use quotes in every answer?
No, not every answer. Now, please understand this thing. Even if you're using it in every answer, there's nothing wrong in it. The quote should be right. Okay, usko rule mat bana lijiye. But the thing is, your question answer sheet should be full of variety. अगर आप एक दो क्वेश्चन में quotes यूज कर रहे हैं, in the other question you can use small case studies. Okay, so the answer sheet, if I am checking your answer sheet, I should see that every question is, done in a different style, because that also, there is a marks for that also, how you write. So quotes का मतलब ये नहीं है कि बिना सर पैर के आप quotes लिख दे रहे हैं. Okay, it should add value to your answer, and then there should be a variety.
Okay, next question. Soumya is asking, is it necessary to make notes out of editorials because the pointers are lengthy and it takes time?
I think notes making is very important, Soumya. The reason behind that is that finally you have to be in a habit to write in the examination. Now, what I said in the beginning of the session today, that do not go into the complex statements. Please watch my 5W1H approach. Okay, 5W1H approach and the 4-pillar approach which I have discussed in the previous session, where I tell you that how in an editorial, in fact, there was a complete session, if I'm correct, there we discussed editorials only, that how to deal with editorials. Okay, so editorials वही उठाइए जो syllabus से आपको match करता है. Editorials के writers भी important हो जाते हैं, you can be selective there. But at the same time, remember that when you're making notes, are you following 5W1H? Are you following 4-pillar strategy? And are you, if nothing, Soumya, if nothing, are you able to pick up keywords from those editorials? Just mention those keywords and you will be able to form sentences as you will grow with this preparation.
Another question is about opinionated articles or opinions that we see on newspapers. How does one make notes from there when it is someone's opinion?
Yeah, it may be someone's opinion, but when you write in your examination, you can rephrase it as it's in a way that it is a suggestion. Okay, it may be some opinion, but some opinions can also be reframed in a way that it suits your answer. If that particular opinion is of any very prominent person, why not quote that person? If a United Nations Secretary General has said something and he's writing a piece in the Indian Express as its opinion, you're welcome. But you have to be smart. You're writing for an examination as a future civil servant. You should know your audience. Okay, so do not write something which is controversial, but you can always convert or you can rephrase it as a suggestion.
Okay, next question. Sanober Firdaus underscore 14 is asking that he is confused whether he should use diagram explanation in answer writing.
Yes, you can use diagram explanation, but please make that diagram neat and clean. और दूसरा, diagrams should be supportive of your answer. एक आंसर में केवल डायग्राम बना देना ही आंसर नहीं होता है. Okay, उस मतलब obviously you understand that the examiner who is checking the copy is a very smart person. He wants to see that diagram as a support to what you have written. Okay, Your writing should not support the diagram. Your diagram should support the writing. If you have not made a diagram, that is fine, but make correct diagram. All right. And remember, I'm talking about variety in your notes. Variety in your notes. So some questions can have diagram, some questions can have pointers, some questions can have paragraphs. All right, but we were talking about the newspaper. So in the newspaper, while you're making notes from the Indian Express, you can use the diagram approach to save time. And picturesque memory is always you can remember it for long. Okay, I think there are many questions even now. I am sorry for that because we are running out of time, and I think आधे घंटे से ज्यादा तो भाई सुनना भी नहीं चाहिए because you have to go back and study. All right, and you have to read the Indian Express, and please visit our UPSC initiatives of the Indian Express, UPSC Key, UPSC Essentials, which will help you in getting an extra edge in your examination and preparation. All right, then that's all. And as I say, think smart, work hard, conquer your goal. Until next time, Manas Srivastava. Bye bye.